Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for attending the Supplement Your Income with MLS Advantage. This is going to be a couple of hours that we're going to get together showing you how you're going to be able to work and make a little extra money. I know we all want to make that little extra money, don't we? So we're going to show you how to do that with a product that you're already paying for. You don't have to pay anything extra for this. This is a member benefit through Florida Realtors. But before we get started, though, I want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Cisowski. I am the Florida Realtors Technology Training Manager, and I've been in the real estate industry for over 40 years. I've been with Florida Realtors going now into my 9th year, teaching MLS Advantage, and also I teach Form Simplicity. I also teach SunStats, eSign, and some other member benefits that Florida Realtors also offers. But before that, I was also a realtor myself. I was a realtor for 7 years, had my own real estate business. I was using the MLS Advantage product because the area that I serviced was not part of the regional that was in the Orlando area. So I had to use MLS Advantage just to help make that extra money. And then before that, I worked for a Realtor Association for 7 years as the IT person and the trainer. And then before that, I worked for 3 MLS vendors as their account rep and their trainer as well. So you can see I got a lot of background behind me under different umbrellas, and hopefully a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be explaining to you this morning, and actually it's this afternoon, we'll go ahead and hopefully you'll pick up some good tips, and also the people at home. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to mention here that you all should know is the Tech Helpline telephone number. This is a very important telephone number for you to write down. That telephone number is available to you, and you have access to them 7 days a week. That telephone number is 407-587-1450, and they're available to you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you have 7 days of tech support. Give them a call on anything related to what we're talking about this afternoon. Even if you have a Form Simplicity question, if you have an e-sign question, or if you have your own technology issues that you might be experiencing, give them a call. And with your permission, they can remote into your computer and see what it is that you might be experiencing some difficulty with. Now, what MLS Advantage is, I don't know if anybody's ever used MLS Advantage here, and I see a couple of hands up, and I'm hoping people who are watching have also used MLS Advantage. MLS Advantage is basically, we have to keep in mind, and I'm going to go ahead and point out to you here. Oh, I don't have that one here. Okay. Is basically, it's a search engine. Don't think of MLS Advantage as an MLS, okay? Because what you do in your MLS may not necessarily be available to you in MLS Advantage. And I'll point out to them what features you will not have in MLS Advantage, but you will have in your own MLS program. It is a search engine. Just keep that in mind, okay? The second thing I want to mention here too is that we update our information on an hourly basis. So as members are putting in listings in their local MLSs, you're going to have that information updated in MLS Advantage. And speaking of that, MLS Advantage does not allow you to add listings because we are not an MLS. We're basically a search engine. All listings that are entered and goes into MLS Advantage is entered at each individual member's MLS program that they use wherever they are in the state of Florida. Now, also on the other side of my little circle that I didn't have up here, and I apologize for that, but what you also have the ability to do is when you happen to have an offer that you're making, MLS Advantage works hand in hand with Form Simplicity. So if you want to make an offer on a specific property, you can actually import that information directly into your contract in Form Simplicity. It will only work with Form Simplicity. One member benefit working with another member benefit. So if anyone here was using any other product, it will not work because they're technically our competitors. So we're not going to put people's program in there if they're competing against us. So that, I think, makes absolutely good sense. So how do I get into MLS Advantage, and what else can I do with it? So let's go ahead, and I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint, and we're going to go right into MLS Advantage. There's a couple of ways of accessing MLS Advantage. One way would be to go to floridarealtors.org and then log into that floridarealtors.org website, and then there is a link that takes you automatically into MLS Advantage. Now, I'm going in it the back way because I am not a realtor, I'm not an MLS member, so you can consider me a man without an MLS, okay, a man without an association. But the way I access it would be through mlsadvantage.floridarealtors.org. So that's how I access it. And then I just log in. How many of us access the floridarealtors.org website? Anybody here? Okay. If you have never gone to the floridarealtors.org website, I recommend that you sign up to go there because it's got a lot of great information. But I don't want to talk about that website. But that's something that you definitely want to do. If you don't have a username and password, then you have the option to register for that, because obviously in order for you to go in, it's not available to the general public. It's only available to you. It's a member benefit. That's what you're paying for, okay, as a member of Florida Realtors. So all you have to do is just register for your password, find yourself in the Florida Realtors membership directory, and then once you find out and you create your own password and it gives you the login number, all you have to do is type in that information and go to mlsadvantage.floridarealtors.org and then log yourself in, and this is going to be the home screen for you to go into, okay? Now, I do want to point out a couple of things, and here you have your help, and here you have your different kinds of help. So if you need any sort of help within using MLS Advantage, you can actually look at the videos over there. You can actually check out a written documentation on that. Also, for each thing that we're going to be talking about today, any features that we're talking about today, just give that a whirl. And then, of course, you have a training session of video. So should you decide that after everything I told you today, you've kind of forgot a couple of things, you always have those training videos as a review, as a reinforcement to what I'm showing you here today. Now, I do want to point out one thing here. And this is, I think, important that you all understand, and you may want to take a look at the training video. At least the first 6.5 minutes of it, there's a, the instructor will say, here's a word from our legal department, okay? And there's going to be a 6.5 minute video on how MLS Advantage should be used, okay? Let's say that I happen to have a listing, and I happen to be a listing in Orlando, and I'm a member here, and there's a dispute. Well, Florida Realtors is not involved with that. You still have to go through your local board, and you have to go through your local MLS. The dispute is taken care of locally, okay? Not through us. We have nothing to do with it because we're not an MLS. We're just a search engine, so just keep that in mind. But you may want to take a look at that training video, at least listen to the first 6.5 minutes on that. And then if you have any feedback that you'd like to have given it to our MLS Advantage programmers, and they would like, you would like to see something new in MLS Advantage, give them a message here, and then they will be very happy to help you out with that. But when you're accessing MLS Advantage, this is going to be the home screen that you will access over here. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is enter in our MLS number. So with the show of hands, how many here know all of the MLS numbers in the state of Florida? I see nobody says no. Okay, if somebody raised your hand here, I would have fell off my feet here, okay? But obviously you're not going to know the answer to that. You're not going to be able to do that, right? Because, as I said in the beginning, you're entering your MLS information directly into your local MLS. So here you're going to put it in your Broward, Palm Beach, St. Lucie MLS, your Matrix, your Flex MLS, whatever you all use down here. Everybody does it elsewhere. So your MLS number probably would be like a 2-letter dash 7 or 8-digit number. If you go to Miami, they have 1 letter and 8 digits. If you go to Space Coast, they use 7 digits. So it's all different, okay? So you're not going to be able to do a search by MLS ID. However, I would recommend that you might consider doing a search by the radius. okay? I did this when I was a Realtor. I used to use the search by radius when I had somebody wanting to relocate from another area, another state, because they were interested in locating property near a certain area where they wanted to work. There are some situations where I actually had people who were transferring from one company to another company because they got hired in like the space center where I'm near. So that could be something that you might consider doing there. But I'm going to go ahead and enter in an address, and you also have to enter in a zip code, and you also have to put in the distance. Okay, those are the three required features that you need to put in. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in a number, an address for a client who currently is in Denver, Colorado, and they would like to relocate to Melbourne, Florida. That's in Broward County. So it's like a couple of hours north of where we are here today. So he would like to, because there's that position that's opened for that company that he works for in Denver. It's a region office, and he has gotten the promotion, and he wants to find property in that neck of the woods. So the address of the company or the branch office that he works for is going to be 1450 Sarno Road, and that's over in Melbourne. All right? So that's the first thing you have to put in, is the address of where that where the region office is. So now the next thing I have to do is I have to put in the zip code. How many here know all the zip codes in Melbourne? I could see you're not, and I could see somebody's looking at their phone. That's cheating, okay? There's a much easier way to find zip codes in certain areas in Florida. Who could tell me what is the first digit of a Florida zip code? 3, right. So then all I'm going to do here is type in the 3 and put 4 stars after it. And that's it. That way I get all the zip codes in Melbourne. But the important thing to remember is that you have to put in Melbourne as a city, because if you just put in 1450 Sarno Road, then basically it could be another Sarno Road somewhere in the state of Florida, because the zip code is a wild card. All right, so that's very, very important to know. And then we have to also put in a distance, and the distance here shows as a default 1 mile. However, if you click on this, I can go as far as really close to it as 1/100th of a mile, so that's pretty close. Or I can go as far out as 50 miles. But he says, I'm a health nut, I like to walk to work, I currently walk to work right now, and he doesn't have a vehicle, but he does have his horse, so he sometimes takes his horse over to work because they have a special tie for the horse, and he's going to get the same thing when he moves to the Melbourne area. So he wants to be within a 3-mile radius. So that's going to be what I'm going to provide him. But as of right now, the way I'm going to see things here is that it's going to give me everything in Melbourne, around that area, the 3-mile radius. However, it's just going to give me single-family homes and that are active. That could be a pretty long list, all right? We don't want that long of a list. We don't want 100 listings, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put in my price. And I've asked him what the price is going to be. So he said he wants something between $475 and let's say $675. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to $475 here. And then I can scroll down and select $675 right over here. Now, I can also enter the price over here where it says price, because it says price with the drop downs, and it has or. And I can enter it manually that way. That's because the price that you would enter in manually here is, let's say he said that I was looking for a price starting at $465. Well, in that drop down, you don't see 465. So then I would enter in right over here, 465 right over here. Notice I didn't put commas, I didn't put dollar signs, just strictly numbers. Now, in your MLSs that you use currently here locally, if you were looking for a price range or a price starting at $465,000 and up, what do you have to do? You would have to put a plus sign, right? You don't have to put a plus sign here. All you have to do is leave this side empty. That's it. So 465,000 and then leave the other side empty. In Matrix, I know that you have a checkbox that says put things in thousands. You got to put all the numbers, all zeros. There's no shortcuts in MLS Advantage. You got to type the numbers based on what you want to put there. So either you can use this range or we can use the drop down. Depends on what you want to do. Then what we're going to put here is do 2 to 3 bedrooms. And this is how I put a range of bedrooms. And then a minimum of 2 bathrooms. And then we're going to do a square footage of about 1,800 and up. That's all. That's what he told me. This is what he's looking for. So at that point in time, then all you have to do is click on the search button. And when you click on search, I got a grand total of 8. You see over here where it says 1 through 8? I have a grand total of 8. So if you didn't use MLS Advantage or didn't know about MLS Advantage, would you have gotten all of those 8 listings in your MLS? And the answer to that would be no, because you don't have access. You don't have a reciprocal agreement, I guess, with Broward County. So this is a great way of pulling up listings here. Every time you pull up, do a search, you get these 2 tabs. It always will default to the list results. Then I can go ahead and go to the map results, and it's going to show me where all of these properties are. And I can actually click on any of these location markers, and it's going to give me the same screenshot that we would show you when we were in the list results screen. Okay. Also, you have the option to sort. Now, when you sort, the default sort will always start from the high price to the low price. However, if you're one of those types of agents, which I don't think your broker would appreciate, but if you're one of those agents that like to start from the low price and go to the high price because you don't want to make that kind of money, then you can go ahead and go from the low price to the high price. And you can also go to sort by the number of square footage. You can sort by the number of bedrooms. This is a handy tool because I had a situation where we had a customer who wanted the highest number of bedrooms. I don't care how much I have to pay for it. So I always sorted them by the actual number of bedrooms. And that is also an option for you there. Bathrooms, and also if you're doing a sold status, you can also do the sold date. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and show you, here we have 8 listings. Now, I do want to point out to you one thing, because it can happen. This is a great example. This address is in here twice. I don't know if you all noticed that. It's got the same address, 6674 Flamingo Road. It's got the same address. But the reason why it's got the same address twice is because it's listed in 2 separate MLSs. So here we have the person from Stellar MLS, which is the Stellar Regional, MLS Regional, and then somebody from Space Coast. So it could be that this one member is a member of both MLSs. So if they put it in 2 MLSs, it's going to show up twice in MLS Advantage. So it's not a bug in MLS Advantage. Just keep an eye on the association name. Okay, so it can happen. Here's a good example. See, here we got Beaches MLS, and we have Space Coast MLS. Again, I don't know if, who the originating, where the originating agent is from. And the way to find out what that is, if you're curious, I would click on the View Details, and we'll show you where you would find all of the listing information and who is actually listing this property. Okay. Now we have 18 pictures here. It will vary from MLS. I know some MLSs have unlimited pictures, so sometimes you might see 100 pictures, and probably different angles because of the drone features that they may have included. Now, I can go ahead and scroll through all of these pictures, but I know the people in the back probably can't see some of the stuff that I'm showing you here, at least on the I know, but maybe they can't see it. Or maybe they forgot their glasses and they can't see it for sure. It's like a blur. So then, how do I make it larger? Because you might be working with a customer who left their glasses at home. So then all you have to do is take your mouse, click on the picture, and now you get to see a much larger picture, and now you both can do ooh and ah at the same time. And that's a great way of viewing these pictures like so. And of course, if you want to skip a couple of pictures so you can move it quicker, you can go ahead and do that. So these are your options. To go back to the regular photo view, all you have to do is hit the X button, and it goes back, it goes away. And it goes back to the normal view that you see here. Also, what you will see here too is some quick basic information. How many bedrooms, how many baths, what's the square footage, the year built, the area. The area you may not worry about too much because your areas are different than what Space Coast uses, okay? But the cool thing about this, it also tells you the number of days it's been on the market. So here it shows 7, so it just came on the market. But there are times I've seen days on market showing, you know, going in the upper 90s, maybe triple digits. Sometimes I even saw a couple of them going almost up to 180 days. So it just depends on if it's overpriced. That could maybe be the culprit, it's overpriced. Now here we see these little buttons over here, and I'm going to just ask you all, since you all are familiar with your MLS. When you do a search and you get the search results, what do you click on in your MLSs to select listings? What do you click on? The little check boxes, and it comes up with check marks, right? So that means as you check mark those boxes, you're selecting those listings. We don't have check boxes in MLS Advantage. The closest thing to doing that is right here where it says Add to Report. Add to Report is the same thing as clicking on that checkbox when you do your search. So if I wanted to select this particular listing to send to my buyer, because this is more like a buyer's system, buyer's agent system, and I want to send this to my buyer, then all I have to do is click on right here and say Add to Report. It's the same thing as clicking on that checkbox. But then let's say your buyer says, nah, changed my mind. I'm not going to go ahead and want this one. So then how do you remove it? In your MLS, you would click on that checkbox to uncheck it. Here, you click on Remove from Report. That's how that works, okay? Also, we're going to show you in a little bit, you can actually go in here and create report, very similar to what you have in your MLS. You have a customer report, which you're going to send to your customers. You're not going to send them the licensee report. The licensee report is more for you, so you can see who the other agent is. I recommend that if you're going to send one to the customer, make sure you have one for the licensee, because that way you know who you are working with. Very important there, okay? But we'll go more detail in a little bit. Now, if you happen to see a virtual tour button, that's because there's a virtual tour in the MLS. So then if you click on virtual tour, depending on what they use, this happens to be a property panorama virtual tour, and so therefore you can go ahead and view these pictures, and they apparently have it where you can actually accelerate that a little bit so you don't have to look at all of these. And if you want, you can always listen to the music as you're viewing the virtual tour. All right, so that's something that you have there. If there's no virtual tour button, that means there's no virtual tour in the MLS, okay? But the coolest thing I always liked about it using MLS Advantage when I was a former Realtor is because every time I would write a contract, because let's say I want to make an offer on this property, I can write a contract by clicking on Write a Contract button here, and then once I do that, it's going to automatically take me into Form Simplicity. And there it is. And then now, before I continue, notice that there are two MLS numbers. The same MLS number, but two different addresses. That's because we're pulling up the information from MLS Advantage. And there are several associations, or let me rephrase that, several MLSs that have the same numbering system. And this one here on top where it says Jacksonville, it's called, the MLS is Northeast Florida MLS. They use the same number that Melbourne uses or Space Coast uses. So all you have to do is select the correct one. And when you click on the select button for the correct one that I want, it's going to auto-populate all of that information right there. I don't have to do this. Now, in your MLS, you also should be able to write an offer. There should be a button on top. I don't know where it is on your listing, but on your listing, there should be an FS button there or a Form Simplicity button for you to click on and then import it the same way I'm showing you here. I don't have access to MLS, so I'm kind of doing it right here from MLS Advantage, but exactly the same fashion. So as you can see here, I can go ahead and notice the property information. I have the listing information here. I have, sometimes you have to do some extra legwork to find out who the seller is, because sometimes agents put in withheld, just to make you do extra work. I mean, you can always go to the county records and you'll find out who your seller is. So you all know how to do that. And then, so let's say that the seller I pulled up from the county records who owns this property, who the seller is, his name is Algorithm, and then you just put his information here, and then you'll have the seller's information, the seller's agent information, and let's say that what you're going to be offering is, let's say $500,000, because it's 505, so I'm going to put in $500,000. And then you're going to put in your buyer. So then you're going to type in, I'm going to type in my buyer's name. His name is Drew A. Blank. And then I would put in his information, and then my information appears because when I registered or when I logged into MLS Advantage, it knows who I am. All right, so therefore I get that. And then all you have to do is click on Save a Transaction, and then go ahead and put in your information, and then hit Save to the new transaction, and then just put in your contract, put it through e-sign, and there you go. So one member benefit working with another member benefit. So this, I've always loved MLS Advantage, especially it worked together with the forms program that I was using, okay? So that is that. Any questions on any of this stuff here? Yes, sir?
Yeah, what kind of properties I can find
We'll go ahead and show you that, yeah. Yeah, we'll show you everything you can find in MLS Advantage, okay? Now, over here we have these 4 tabs. You will always have these 4 tabs in any listings that you pull up. So the first one we have is public remarks, the legal description, features, and then the room dimensions if it's available. Not everybody fills in the room dimensions. Not every MLS requires it. So if it's there, that's great. And then you have your property information. Most cases, you always will see the APN or the assessor's parcel number. That's always going to show up, at least if nothing else in the property information is populated, all right? But that's something that you have there. Then you have your listing details. Now, MLS Advantage is the only third-party website that provides private remarks. If you go to another third-party website, they don't have private remarks. We're the only other third party besides the MLS that contains private remarks. So this is a great thing for you to be able to read. And then there are some showing instructions sometimes will be included. Why it's not there, I don't have an answer for that, but then you probably always contact the agent. Now, I'm going to take a quick pause here because there's a couple of things that you might be looking for and you will not see in MLS Advantage. One, MLS Advantage does not have any of the attached documents, like seller disclosure form, lead-based paint disclosure form, because that feature is, one, not a feature that was ever incorporated in MLS Advantage. Two, it is proprietary to the MLS. So that we won't have that, we won't be able to get that in here. So you're going to have to make that phone call to the other agent for the seller disclosure form, lead-based paint, if necessary, to have that in there. Also, we do not have any access to any showing program, like showing time. That, again, is proprietary specifically to that MLS. Also, I recommend that if you're going to do anything outside of your service area, I recommend, one, that you complete a commission agreement form for sure. You want to make sure you get paid. MLS Advantage does offer compensation and cooperation. So you will be able to have, get paid for it, but you got to make sure you follow the same rules like you would have in your own MLS. You got to make sure you're the procuring cause, you know, all that stuff. You got to make sure you're on top of that. And then also for anybody who's looking to do referrals, this is a great referral tool too. Every time I see on people's business cards, members' business cards, we love referrals. Well, this is a good one for that too. I know when I was a realtor and I worked on the East Central Florida side of where I live, and somebody asked me to look for property in Brandon, Florida. I'm not going to drive 2.5 hours to show a couple of pieces of property. I asked my broker, I said, hey, Miss Broker, who can I contact on the west side there that you might be aware of that I can refer this to? So she gave it to me. I filled out the referral form. She signed it, I signed it. We sent it to them, they signed it, and I still got paid. See, so this is a great way of doing referrals here as well. Then we have some financial information here, and then we have our listing information. So remember I said that I didn't know who the originating agent was from which MLS? Well, I can tell you with this 561 number, they're from the Palm Beaches, all right? So therefore, they are a member of Space Coast. So that's how we were able to see both of them there. Another thing you can do here is you can also pull up the corresponding tax information. So I don't have to jump through hoops going to the Broward County Property Appraiser's office and pulling up that tax information. I have it all here with this tax details tab. And of course, I can always click on the county assessor's office, which automatically connects me to Broward, giving me the same kind of property address in that system. I can also scroll down and see who the current owner is of this property. And then it'll give me some information here. In most cases in this county, for whatever reason, all I get to see is the OR booking page. And that's probably all the county wants to give us, all right? Because each county wants to hold on to their information. Even though it's public records, they still don't want to give out everything. So, but anyway, we can at least work with that. If there's any mortgage information, any lease pendants history, you get to see that. Then you have your tax assessment. So you can pull up the tax information, see what it is, what they have to pay in 2023. And you also have access to the tax collector's information, so you can always look at that website. Here you have your building information. Some counties provide sketches. Broward County does not. So that's the reason why we don't see one here. And then you have other construction information. However, I can actually, if you click on view the assessor's information, I can go ahead and click here, and guess what? There is a sketch I can click on right here. And now I can see what the room dimensions are of that property. So that will vary from county to county. I can also see here too that I can do a map view, I can do an eagle view, and it gives me a lot more information here than we have in MLS Advantage. But that's the reason why we have that link that takes you automatically to the assessor's office of whatever county you're in. And then we can go ahead and view all of that information. And then last but not least, this is a cool feature. I don't know if you all know this, but you all have a chauffeur. You can actually chauffeur around a certain neighborhood here. And here it tells you exactly where this property is located. Now I can also do a satellite view of this so I can see what the area looks like. And then I can also hit the zoom in button here. I can zoom in like here. But the cool thing about this, and of course I can tilt my map and I can kind of scroll it around just to see what the different views are from that area. But we all have a chauffeur. His name is Drag Pegman. And when you click on this guy here, you click on it, and as soon as you click on it and pull him out, you're going to notice all the streets light up. And so now I can go ahead and put him right where this property is located. And see, this is where you can now do a nice little drive around. Now you can't go from Like, you can't do this as a tour. This is not designed to do that. It's only going to work off of one property, and you want to see what the traffic patterns are, and you want to see what kind of neighborhood it is. Is it kind of run down? Is it a beautiful neighborhood? Whatever. And I can go ahead and scroll, move this around, and I can check around here. And then I can go ahead and take a nice little drive. It's a nice sunny day here. And just be careful of the traffic. Make sure you stop at the stop sign there, because we don't want you getting a ticket for passing the stop sign. And no speeding here either. And then you can just keep going, and keep going. So this is kind of giving you an idea as what the area is. And if you wanted to, what you can always do is I can go ahead and do this, maybe see what the main drag is. How much traffic does it look like it's having here? So I can go ahead and do this. Just watch out for that truck in front of you. And then you can see what the area looks like that way. So you have different ways of checking out. All of this are Google Maps. So whatever Google Maps have and they're current, we are just as current as they are. So if something's missing, that's nothing we can do anything about, because that's exactly what Google Maps has. All right? Any questions on this? Yes?
Can we see comparables?
Say it again.
Comparables?
Compatible?
Yeah,
Meaning doing a CMA?
Oh, yeah, you can do that. We haven't gotten to, because that was one of his questions. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and show you. I just wanted to show you how the information is, because there's more to this than just what I'm just showing you here. Yeah, I'll show you how you can do that. You can do that with any status that you want, and I'll show you how to pull up different statuses in MLS Advantage. Any other questions before I get out of this screen here?
how you can email.
You want to email this? Then you would click on Create Report, and then you go ahead and hit Email. There's an email button here. We'll go more detail for that a little bit later on. But you would just select Customer, and then you have these different kinds of reports that you can do. Okay. Now, as you can see, these are not the only features that you can search for. This is what you're going to do 99% of the time. You're always going to do an area search, you're going to do a property search, you're going to do a status search, and everything else. So this is going to be your basic search. But notice that we have here different counties, different cities, different zip codes options here. So if you were wanting to search for a certain city, the easiest and quickest way to search for a city is to start typing the name of the city. So let's say we want to type in West Palm Beach. So as soon as I type in West, it's going to filter down and reduce the list based on West. So here we see West Palm Beach right down here. I can make that selection and then select something else in here as well. Let's say I chose the wrong city. How do I remove that? There's the little X next to the city name, and I can remove the name of the city. Okay? Now, what you may want to do is make a note what I'm about to say. What's required in an MLS Advantage search, you have to select a county or a city or a zip code, any one of those three, and then you have to select a property type and a property status. But those three things are required. Areas, the property type, and the property status. Now, what you can do, another shortcut that I came up with is, let's say I was doing a search down in Broward County. If I go in here, put the county in here, it's going to reduce the city names to what's in Broward County. So I don't have to scroll through the entire thing, or I don't have to type anything in. If you know the county that city is in, just select the county name, and then select the cities that way. And of course, if you hold down the Control key, you can select multiple cities at the same time, or multiple counties at the same time. What you can also do here, notice, is that to the right of each of these field names, it tells you how many cities you can add and search for. You can't search for no more than 20 cities. And the same thing when it comes to counties, you cannot select more than 10 counties. 10 counties or less is the minimum you can do, because otherwise it slows down your search. And in fact, the entire internet will go down. No, just kidding. Okay, but that's something that you can go ahead and decide to do there. And then, of course, single family is your default property type. Now, that's not the only property type that you can search for in here. If you click on this little box here, it's going to give you a drop down, and you can select all those other property types as well. You can search for condos, you can search for vacant land, commercial, multifamily, and rental. And you can also select both of them at the same time and do a search for single family and condo. So you can do them both. Active is not the only status that's available to you. It's just your default status. It means it's always going to be active. However, I can make also pending status. I can search for sold status, withdrawn, expired, and terminated. So those are your options there. And I can also do actives and solds at the same time. And I'll get the results for actives as well as for solds, especially if I put in a sold date range, and I'll show you what that is in just a little bit. But that is something that you can go ahead and do. All right, but again, this is your 99% of the searches that you always are going to do. Are there other features that you can search for? And the answer to that is yes. If you click on the More Plus button here, these are your additional features that you can add to supplement your other basic search that you put in there. So if you wanted to, I can search for a street address in here. But be careful with that, because when you do a search by street address, every MLS does it differently. I know of a few MLSs where the street direction and the street type have drop downs, and they may have abbreviations, and you're not sure what that abbreviation could be. I recommend that you just put in the house number and the name of the street. 1000 Main. That's all I would put. I'd rather get a lot of 1000 Mains than nothing. All right, so that's one thing. But very important to note here, if you are going to put in an address, let's say if it was a condominium, well, make sure that you put your property type up here as condominium, because if you leave it at single family, you're not going to find it. So that's another thing that's important to remember. I can also search by public and private remarks. So that's an option I can do here too. How about subdivision search? You can do a subdivision search, but we do not have a table. Okay, some MLSs have tables, some do not. Some are just free entry. So then just put it in what you think might be the name of the subdivision, the name of the community. Also, in case somebody was about to ask me this question, yes, you can enter in the condo name in there too. Even though it doesn't say condo, but you can search by condominium. And I found this very interesting. I live in a condo where the name of the condo is called Townhomes of Cocoa Beach. But townhomes is written as 2 words. Most of us would type in townhomes as 1 word. And there are some condos that will say townhomes as 1 word. If you type in townhomes as 1 word, it's going to cover both townhomes as 1 word or townhomes as 2 words. Because I was able to find my condo by just typing in townhomes 1 word, and it still pulled it up. So it does work with you on that. Zoning, I wouldn't worry about it too much, because zoning changes a lot, and people don't put zoning in correctly sometimes, so I wouldn't even worry about that. But I would do a year built. You want to find property that was built from, let's say, 2000 till today. So I can just type in here 2000 and then leave the other side blank. You can also do basically acreage. So here I can go from 5 acres to, let's say, 10 acres, especially if I'm working with my client from Denver who happens to have a horse. I need to find him at least a 5 acre, so that way the horse can roam around. Here is where your sold date is going to be. If you wanted to search for something, let's say since the beginning of the year, so here we see 1/1/2024, and then leave the other side blank. It's going to give you everything from the beginning of this year till now, all right? And then, How many of us, well, let me rephrase that. MLSs tend to be overlapping. I can tell you that, at least in my neck of the woods, and I think down here too, because I think between Miami-Dade and Broward, there's overlapping areas, and then between Broward and Palm Beach County is also overlapping area, and so on. How many of us put in listings in more than one MLS? No? Okay. Let's say I did. Let's say that I put in a listing in Broward and I had a listing, the same listing in Palm Beach County, but I wanted to expose it in both MLSs, okay? Now, if I'm a buyer's agent looking for property that is in Broward County and I pulled it up in my own MLS, well, guess what? I'm going to pull up everything that, I don't know how your MLS is set up in terms of area. Different MLSs work differently. But if you did a search for anything that you had in Broward County in your MLS, and your buyer says, nope, I don't like none of them. So then you go into MLS Advantage, and then you're going to go into Broward County and pull up properties in MLS Advantage. But you don't want to see the same properties that you saw in your own MLS system here. How do you avoid that? That's where it says exclude listings from MLS. When you click on this drop down, I'm going to select your beaches, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So then I'm going to click on beaches, and that will eliminate all of those listings. And the only ones I will see in MLS Advantage will be all the Broward Realtor listings, Miami-Dade Realtor listings, Martin County Realtors who might be listed down there. So you just eliminated having to say, oh, I've already seen this, all right? That there will eliminate all that extra stuff that you don't need to see again, all right? So that's I think, a cool feature there as well. Has anyone here, when you're using MLS Advantage, have you used the feature table? Has anybody here used the feature table? Because this is a pretty cool feature, but you got to be careful how you use each of those feature categories. That's going to be a thing that you may definitely want to make a note of for sure. If I go in here, I'm going to start a brand new search here for a second. And I'm going to go ahead and do a search for single family homes in Stewart, which is over in Martin County, okay? And I'm going to go down here and go under included features, and I'm going to locate an in-ground swimming pool. I'm going to look for a 3-car garage, and I'm going to look for interior of cathedral ceiling. And then I'm going to do a search, because I know there's properties that have exactly these that my buyer is looking for. Well, when I search for it, I find out there are no listings. Well, why is that? I know there are some there. Well, the reason for that, the reason why it didn't come up, is because when you look at the definition of what included features means, is that any features that you select in there have to be included in that listing. It has to have all of those 3 items. And apparently there aren't any there listed. Now, there may be property there in that area in Stewart. It just didn't have to be listed in the MLS program, all right? So that could be it. But just keep in mind, included means that you're looking for a cathedral ceiling and a 3-car garage and an in-ground swimming pool. It has to have all of those 3 qualities. Huh?
And the said property.
Exactly, exactly. So this is not going to work for what I'm looking for. But this is something that you want to use for clients who want these things. You want this, 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 and this. It has to have all 3 of them, or whatever you put in there. The same thing would be for excluded features. Let's say you're working with a client who belongs to the Polar Bear Club, and he loves to swim in cold water during the winter time. So therefore, under excluded, you want to exclude heated pool, let's say. But then if you put something else in there, it's also going to look for exclude this and this and this. So both the included features and excluded features uses the word and. You're looking for this and then this, or you're excluding this and this and this, okay? So most of the time, you're going to go in here and do your possible features, because your possible features means that it doesn't have to be in that property, but if it's in there, that's fine. It's not required to be in that listing. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Doing the same exact thing here, I'm going to say in-ground swimming pool, 3-car garage parking, and then interior we'll do cathedral ceiling, and I don't know why it keeps clicking on that. Here's the cathedral ceiling, close it, and now we're going to get a different result, 139. Because here, you want to read it that we're going to find either cathedral ceiling or a 3-car garage or an in-ground swimming pool. See, so there's a difference. So if you ever get frustrated working with the feature table, that could be the reason why that you don't know that the first two means and the last one means either or. So here, I'm going to do the first one. As you can see, recreation shows in-ground swimming pool. Okay, we met one criteria. Then we go to the interior, cathedral ceilings. We met 2 criteria, but we didn't meet the parking criteria because all they put there was garages. A lot depends on how the agent puts it into their MLS. If all agents do is put the required information but don't put the added information, then there's nothing we can do about it, okay? Because I know in my own MLS, there were times I found difficulty locating some of my listings in my own MLS because sometimes agents wouldn't put it in correctly. What should have been a 2-car garage, they put it in as 2 parking spaces. That's not going to work. See, so that's, there's a saying, whatever is in there is garbage in, garbage is going to come out. That's nothing you can do anything about. So that's going to happen, all right? So that's just, and that would be the same thing with any of your other listings that you have. Any questions on the search screen? Yes, sir.
I noticed every time you do a search, you don't save it.
I haven't got to that point yet.
Thank you.
I knew you were going to. See, you have to realize as you were all coming in, my mind was Bluetoothing with all of your minds, and I know that was one of the questions that you had. I just didn't want to say anything yet. Okay. Now, I do want to point out a couple of things here, and then we'll move on to the map search, because that's where I'll show you where we would save our search. But you can also save it here, too. Now, here, I'm not going to go over all of these categories, because this is something that I can go over all of this, but whether or not you're going to remember what I said, that's going to be another matter. Just get used to playing around with this. And like here, you have your waterfront features. And by the way, we're talking about 54 MLSs. So all of their information gets included in here as well. Like the Panhandle, you guys are on the East Coast, so you don't care about Gulf Coast, but the side where Tampa is and Naples and all that stuff, they have the Gulf side Panhandle. So there's going to be some Gulf frontage in here as well, but if you happen to want to do searches for that, you can do that. And then you have your different exposures, and then you have your condo features here, condition. All right, you have your different conditions here. Scenery, which is your various views. Recreation is not just a swimming pool, it also includes other items such as a spa, barbecue, grill. I don't know if you do any, what do you call it, documentum, I think is what they call it. I don't think have that feature in here, but they do have both dockage, and dockage is available, both facilities and things like that. And of course, if whatever you select in here, I can hold my control key and I can select multiple options, all right? See, I can do that by holding the control key and I can select more than one, all right? Just like you would do in any program. Okay. But like I said, I can go through all of these categories, and I think it's just a matter of you playing around with it, I think. And once you see what each of these categories will provide you, I think you'll see that they're going to help you a lot. But in here, very similar to what you would do in your own MLS. All right? The feature categories might be titled a little bit differently, maybe labeled a little bit differently. Also, the feature selections might be labeled a little bit differently, but at least you'll have an idea where everything is once you kind of play around with this. Because I think the features will help you to limit your listings, okay? I find that to be, that it would be very helpful. In your MLS that you have here locally, how many here do map searches? I hope we all do map searches, because I think doing a map search is more detailed than this. You can be very detailed exactly where you want things to be. So let's say that I'm a member of your MLS and your board, and I have a client who wants to buy a condominium in Miami Beach, all right? And he told me, Kaz, hope you're not standing, which I'll stand anyway, but I hope you're not standing up, because I just want to let you know that I just happened to win a couple of months ago the Florida Lotto. And after my lump sum, I got $6 million to spend. And I want to buy a condo unit in Miami Beach. Can you help me out? I sure can, because I got MLS Advantage to help me out. And I can do a map search pretty much to find out what's out there. So all I had to do is ask that client and say, okay, what do you want in your condo unit? Well, I want, first of all, I'm not going to spend no less than $2 million. And I'm going to go as high as $6 million. I want a 2 to 3 bedroom, a minimum of 2 bathrooms, and he was very specific. I want 2,000 to 4,000 square feet, and I don't care if it's ocean view or ocean front. As long as I can see the ocean, it doesn't matter what you can cough up with, all right? So he asked me, can I help him? And I said, yes, I can. So now, the first thing I had to ask first is get proof of funds, because I got to make sure that he has that $6 million, right? I hate to do all this extra work and find out all he's got is $35,000 in the bank. So always do check your proof of funds with the client. Then I'm going to go over here and click on the map search. And when I click on map search, everything I showed you just now in the field search is exactly the same here, except 2 differences. The first difference is that the county, city, and zip code is gone, and they've been replaced by the circle, rectangle, and polygon search tools, which I think you all should be familiar with. And then what you also have here too is the entire state of Florida. So you can search for any property in the state of Florida. Now, I forgot to mention one thing here, and I'm going to mention it now before I forget. There are couple of areas that do not, or there are a couple of MLSs that did not opt in to MLS Advantage. So there may be some areas that you're trying to find and you're not getting any listings, or not enough listings. So what you might want to do there is go ahead and write these areas down, so that way, of course, I forgot to mention them. So the first area I'm going to come up with, and I'm going to start with Northwest Florida, go down the West Coast, up the south, and then go up the east. Pensacola had not opted in. Pensacola. So if you were looking for property up in Pensacola, you're not going to have any data in MLS Advantage. Then Gainesville. And don't ask me why some of these opted out. I'm not privy to that information. Some don't want to share. But I think the one in Gainesville, that might be a Gator thing. I'm not sure. I'm not a Gator fan, so it doesn't matter. I'm not a Seminole fan either. I always say, go Giants, but they're not doing any better either. Then going down the west side of Florida, Sanibel Island and Captiva Island. Those two, and I think those, I understand it, they said it's exclusive, I think is what, I think some of the reasons I heard. Then going all the way down to the southern tip of Florida, none of the Keys participate. They do not. So there's 3 MLSs down there, Key West, Marathon, and Key Largo. Those 3 do not participate. However, what's the MLS that's north of the Keys? Miami. They have people listing down there. So you may have listings in the Keys, not a big number, but you have that ability to pull those up. And then you'll just be working with a Miami realtor, not with anybody from the Keys, that's all. But that's okay too. Because I did a search one time and I pulled up a search in the Keys just for single family home, just active, and I pulled up almost 300 properties. That's not bad, but they're all listed by Miami. But still, you got 300 listings, so why not? Then we have, going up the East Coast, is Palm Beach. West Palm Beach participates, but not Palm Beach, that little island along the Atlantic Ocean there that butts against that. And then we have Indian River County, which is Vero Beach. But everybody else participates and they all opt in. We have to get cooperative agreements from all of these MLSs in order for them to opt in. That's kind of what we have to do. So 96, 97% is better than nothing. That's my opinion, right? So how do I go and now do my search? Well, step number 1, what you're going to do is you're going to put in all of the information that your client is asking you to do. So he is asking me to look for condominium. So I'm going to X out of single family and select condo. And then the price range, he said, is between $2 million to $6 million. I could have typed it over here too, but that's a lot of zeros to type, so I might as well just make that selection. Now, if he said 2.5 million, I don't think that there is a 2.5 million there. Oh, there is. But let's say there was a 2.4 million. Then I wouldn't be able to do it here. I would have to type it in manually, okay? 2 to 3 bedrooms. Minimum 2 bathrooms. And then he said 2,000 to 4,000 square feet. And then we're going to go ahead and, since it didn't matter to him whether it was on the ocean or that he was able to view it, I would put that under possible because it didn't matter to him. It wasn't a requirement for that person. So then I can go ahead and click on Add Feature here and then hold my Control key down and select Ocean View and Ocean Frontage, which means it's either going to pull up properties that has ocean view or that are on the ocean. So that's either or. So it didn't matter to him as long as he was near there. And then once he's done that, all he has to do is click on the Close button. And the next step, after you put in your information, is to now zoom in to the area that you're looking for. So I'm looking for what? Miami Beach. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to shrink this a little bit so it gives me the entire map option, and then we'll make it bigger again in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus sign until I get to see Miami Beach. Got a little carried away with the, here we go. Yeah, I'll just stay up to here. Okay, so step 1, you're going to fill in the information like we showed you in the other type of searches that we've done, but you do exactly the same thing in a map search. Then you're going to zoom in down at the bottom to the area that you're looking for. And then step number 3 is you're going to select one of these search buttons. So I'm going to show you how each of them will work. Now, you may want to make a note of this. You cannot layer any of this stuff. So you do a circle search, you just do a circle search. I can't do a circle and rectangle on top of it. All right, it just doesn't work that way. It's not been designed to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do a circle search. And then here we're going to, I don't know if you see this mouse here, and then all of a sudden this mouse is going to change to a little plus sign here. So then here you're going to click on that and then pull it right there, and there you have it. But for something like this, I would not do a circle search because you're trying to get oceanfront information, oceanfront properties, and that circle search is not going to work. Even if you make this larger, what's going to happen now, it's going to go to the mainland, and some agents might put ocean view, but you see it way over there, okay? But you don't want that. So I would not do a circle search for this type of an example. I would do it more for the mainland. Like if you're in the West Palm Beach area, let's say, and you're staying on the mainland, that could be something that you would do there. So then your question to me would be, how do I get rid of that circle? Well, to get rid of that circle, I'm going to go ahead and click on rectangle. And by the way, notice that both of these other two buttons have gone gray, but the circle also disappears here too. So now I'm going to go ahead and click, and there's my rectangle. And then of course, I can make this a little bit this way, and that way it gives me the areas that I want. All right, so I can do that.
And you didn't lose your filters.
I didn't lose my filters. I just changed the type of search I'm doing on the map. Which is nice.
Yeah.
Let's say, however, that I had a guy, the same guy who wanted this information, says, oh, hey, Kaz, I forgot to tell you when you were doing your search, just before you did your search, I forgot to tell you this, that me and some other friends of ours, we had some issues, or not we, but he did, this client did. You see over here where it says Miami Beach Botanical Garden? Well, he didn't know whether it was the hairspray that he had in his hair or the cologne he was wearing. But every time he happened to walk by the Miami Beach Botanical Garden, and it only affected him, not his friends, but he always got chased by a swarm of bees. And as he was running away from them, he kept losing his toupee. So he says, Kaz, I don't want you to look for anything near the Miami Beach Botanical Garden. So the next thing to do then is not the rectangle, we're going to do what? The polygon. And when I click on the polygon, and I'm going to make this a little bit larger here so you can see this better. So now with the polygon, I'm going to go ahead and click, and then I can drag it, click, and I can drag it, click. You see what I'm doing? I'm avoiding that area. And of course, I can't, hang on a second, I gotta start this again. All right, let me just redo this again. What I should have done is I should have kept like what?
The other way.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, also I went too large and I couldn't go down to where I wanted to go. So I'm going to make sure we do this the right way. Here we go. So I'm going to do this polygon one more time, and then I'll make it larger. That's what I should have done. So here, click, drag, click, drag. I'm just doing this without measuring it exactly. And then here, you can do this. You can do this, do this. I'm going to dodge that island. Click here. And if you're going to be artistic, because it doesn't matter, you can do a little design here. But the important thing to remember is that you got to connect the dots. You got to have a shaded area. That's the important thing. You got to connect the beginning dot with the end dot. All right. And then, of course, I can always make my adjustments accordingly here as I need to. I can do that if I wanted to do that. That's the step number 3. Step number 4, and I think this gentleman was asked me this question here earlier. I would recommend that you save this search when you're drawing a map, because if you just hit the search button, after you're done, everything that you put in there goes away. Everything you drew is gone. So always remember when you do a map search at least, but you can also do it on the other search that we were doing too, but I recommend at least for the map search, always do a save and search. So let's say that the person's name I'm working with, her name is, oh actually not her, Rex Mar Miami Beach. All right. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and click on Save and Search. And now it's going to save my search, and at the same time, it's going to search whatever my parameters were. And now I'm going to make this, now I should make this larger, which I didn't do before. I shouldn't, I kind of jumped the gun there. But here we have a grand total of 27 properties. It says that 1 through 27 properties. Okay? And then you see all of those properties listed here. Now, yes, it looks kind of like those condos are out in the ocean, don't they? But that's because it's so far zoomed out. But as I zoom in, you're going to also see that these cluster numbers will also break up as I'm zooming in. So here we go. I'm going to do that right now. You see how as soon as I moved it, that 5 broke up. I can zoom in some more. And now, if a number doesn't break up, that could mean that those 4 units that you see in that circle there, they're all in that one building. That's going to happen. Okay, so just don't panic. I said, well, why is there only one location market as 4 units? Okay, that's because of that one building. And of course, every time you do a map search, it's going to automatically take you to the map results. But I can also go to the list results and see exactly the same thing that we showed you before. See, so you have you can alternate between the two. All right. And of course, when you're in when you're doing a map search, I mean, if you do a regular search like we did in the first few moments of this class, you can also see here, there's also under field search, there's going to be also the option here to save your search here too, and do exactly the same thing, except you're not doing it on the map, you're just doing it with the information you entered in, that's all. But the results will be exactly the same. Okay, so how do I view each of these? Remember we showed you in the earlier part of the class that if you click on View Details, you get to view each of these listings and select which one you want by clicking on the Add to Report. That's all you have to do. And if your buyer wants to say, hey, I want to make an offer on this one's pretty nice looking, then okay, write a contract right from here. That's, I think, is awesome. Then I'm going to go back here. And what you can do here is you can go ahead and hit Add to Report for any of these listings that you reviewed. It doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to choose the first few. But then I know you're probably thinking here too, hey, Kaz, what's this Add to All report? Can I just click on that to add all 27? And I want to send all 27. Well, personally speaking, 27 is too many, in my opinion. If I'm going to send it to someone, I wouldn't go no more than between 10 and 15, if that, okay? Because if you give them everything, they're going to get glassy-eyed and they're going to lose interest in what you're sending them. So I would just do them in piecemeal. That's my personal opinion here. But anyway, notice that if I hit Add to Report, it's only going to give me 25 right over here. That's because there is a limitation as to how many listings you can send to your clients. Because in addition to the listing information, you also will get photos, all right? Now, how many clients can you all say can receive large files, okay? The reason why we limit it to 25 is because 10 megs is probably the most anyone can receive. At Florida Realtors, I can send up to 40 megs, but that's because our email server is set up for that. You may have a client who still may be part of CompuServe, and maybe the only client as CompuServe, and they can only get 3 megs, and that's not going to work. See, so you got to know your customer first of all. How much can they receive? I think in today's technology, most of us should be able to receive 10 megabytes, but you might be working with an elderly couple that may not be able to receive that because they're still working on 15-year technology and they're not going to be able to receive it. So just remember who your customers are, what they can receive. So, but that is the reason why we're limited to just 25 listings. But again, I'm going to go ahead and remove them. And I'm just going to select, so that way it doesn't slow down the information here. I'm just going to choose the first 8 or 9 in here. And they don't have to be in any sort of order either. And then every time you select or hit the Add from Report button, all of those go into the report queue. And the reason why they go into the report queue is because maybe the client will also say, okay, well, if you can't find much in Miami Beach, you may find some in Boca Raton. I'm interested in that area too. So you can add both areas under the report queue. It's a temporary holding area of all the listings that you hit the Add to Report to, okay? Once you do that, I click on the Report Queue button here, and here we have those 11 listings found. If you're ready to create a report, click on Create Report, and now it's going to take you to the customer report and the licensee report. Me personally, and this is the way I always worked. Everybody does it differently, but what I always did was I always started to give the buyer a summary report. I didn't want to give them everything just yet because who knows if they'd get back to me. So I always gave them this customer summary report, as you'll see coming up. It just gives them basic information, just enough to tease them a little bit, because I wanted to make sure that they would come back to me and say, hey, can you send me some more information? That's how I did. And you can see here, you see it's very basic. Gives them the photo, one picture, the address. Now they do have access to the virtual tour. That's the only thing that they have access to. But here it just gives them basic information. And then all of a sudden I get an email from the buyer and says, hey, can you forward me some more information? I'm interested in these too. Okay, now I kind of hooked them in a little bit, so now I'm ready to send them more information. That's what I would do.
Learning every day.
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead, and I would recommend you sending to them the large photos, because there are 25 additional photos on the other ones, but they're so small. The large photos, even though they're only 12, and if they've been strategically placed properly, they will see this, and then the pictures is much larger. And I mean, they can't click on it like you can when we showed you earlier today. But that would be something that you can, but they can click on this virtual tour and be able to see the virtual tour of those photos, all right? So that is something that they can go ahead and do. Because if I did this one, I'll just show you, just to show you. And there's also one that says customer detailed large photos and map. I never sent that because if it's another agent selling that property, they may not come back to me either. I'd rather me be the center of that transaction. I'm old-fashioned. I want to get that phone call and no one else. And if I had to take the time to show them, I'd rather do that. That's just the way I took it. So, okay, here we go. So here we see the pictures see how you see the pictures are smaller? They can't click on it to make it larger. So I'd rather give them the larger photos than the smaller ones. That's just me, okay? And you can also email them here too. It's a very simple email program. I know you probably have the ability in your MLS to know whether or not they opened up that email. You will not know that here because it wasn't designed. Just give them a call. Hey, I sent you an email a couple of years ago. Have you decided what you wanted to do with the properties? All right, so that's something you can go ahead and do. And then, of course, you can send yourself a copy of this email as well. But what we have, and I think it's in Matrix, and Flex has the same thing, but Matrix has the auto email option, and then Flex has the subscription option. Okay, they're basically the same thing, right? Well, MLS Advantage has the auto email option. Now, in order for the auto email to work, you need to first save your search, which we did, didn't we? So where do I find my saved searches? Well, right over here, there's a saved search tab. When I click on that saved search tab, here's the one I just created. You have the option to run your search tomorrow and see if there's anything new that joined, that was added to that list. You can also go in here and edit your search. You can delete it and copy. But I want to go ahead and take you to the set up auto email option. And here, just like you do in your own auto email, you got to create a profile. You got to create a profile here too. So here's the search name. And of course, if you don't have any customers in MLS Advantage, then you have to create customers in here. And I recommend that you create customers as you create your saved searches and you do your auto email. That's my opinion. Just don't add them in just to add them in, okay? So how do you create a customer? Right over here, there's a button here called New Customer. All you do is fill out all of this information. But when I was doing this, I asked myself this question. Okay, Kaz, you have contacts in my Outlook. I'm maintaining that. I also have contacts in my Form Simplicity. I'm also maintaining that. Do I want to maintain a third database of this information? And my answer was no. So what can I do to at least get this thing started? You don't have to fill all of this out if you don't want to. In order for you to put your customer in here, the minimum entry would be the first name, the last name, and their email address. So let's say I don't have this person in here, so I'm going to put in his name and then his email address. And that's all I have to put in. And then just hit the save button. And now his name should show up right down here. And there he goes. So that's how I would be putting them in. I wouldn't put everything, like when are they anticipating to buy? You have your own program that does all of that. So why do I need to duplicate that information, right? So that would be that. And then make sure that you hit the enabled check mark. Now I know also, I forgot to mention that you may not want to send it directly to the customer. You probably want to send it to yourself first, review the listings, and then forward them. You can also do that here too. Send this over to you first, and then forward those listings to what you think you want to send it to, what they should get. I would say go ahead and do that. Then CC anybody you want to. Put your subject line, put your message. You can also include your email. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Also send yourself a copy of this email. And then choose your report type. So if you're doing this for the first time and you want to just give them a tease, that's going to be totally up to you. I would leave it at the customer summary report. And if they want more information about certain listings, that's when you could go ahead and send them the more detailed report, okay? Then you can also, I'm going to go ahead and choose the one with the large photos here, by the way. Then you could go out daily, weekly, or monthly. Also, it can expire up to 6 months into the future. So let's say you want to go 6 months. And you also probably want to include the price changes. Okay, because remember we said it was $6 million? And let's say that there was a listing there at 6.1 million and it went down to 5.999 million. It fell right underneath that $6 million threshold. And therefore, he's going to pull up those listings as well. And then you're going to click on the Save button. And then now, starting tomorrow, Rex is going to get the first group, which was the 27 listings. Then, let's see, today is what, Tuesday? So tomorrow is Wednesday. So Thursday, he will receive 2 new listings. Then on Friday, he'll receive 2 price changes and no new listings. Saturday, he'll receive no listings. See, so it's going to be incremental information. The initial list will be whatever was the total number, and then it's going to be adding on to that as they come on. Now, to really make you guys look good, this is what I used to do. For me, I created one for the client and one for me, the same exact search. And what I would do is, for me though, is I would include all statuses. not just actives, but all statuses. Because sometimes they'll say, hey, what happened to that listing? I don't see it active anymore. Well, then you can go under your little list and say, oh, it's sold. So that makes you staying on top of what, it's like you're working for them. So I would recommend that you put all of your statuses for you, but just keep actives for them. And that's a great way of being intelligent in front of your customer. That's just the way I picked up on that. All right, any questions on how to set this all up? Let me show you exactly how it's going to come to you. And you may not see it very clearly here. It's kind of hard to make this larger because of the way that my email is. But the way it's going to, and I'll explain what it is. It's going to have your name via MLS Advantage, but this email address that's in brackets is a no reply email address. So make sure that your email address is located in your email signature, which we'll show you how to do in a moment. But what they will receive is a PDF. I know in both of your programs, you can be interactive. This is just a static PDF printout. All they get to do is read it, and then if they like something, they will get in contact with you. I always followed up with them with a phone call a couple of days later. Hey, I sent you a couple of days ago this. Have you seen anything you liked? I try to always stay engaged with the customer. And then, so when they click on it and they open this up, this is what they get to see. And now it's going to show this report here. And here's the pictures. And then all they do is scroll and scroll and scroll. That's all they have to do. And if they like something, then they will get in contact with you. They also have the option to unsubscribe. If they don't want to receive it anymore, they can click on the unsubscribe, and you will receive an email from MLS Advantage that they have unsubscribed. So they think, oh, I'm going to unsubscribe. They won't know. Trust me, you'll know. Also, if the auto email search is about to expire, you'll get a notification from MLS Advantage that it's expiring, but you'll get 2 weeks notice. So that means you got 2 weeks to extend that auto email for another X number of months. Okay? Any questions on auto emails? Also, what you can do in here too is you can do a hot sheet. A hot sheet is a ticker tape similar to what you do in your own MLS. What's required to be filled in here is either a city or a zip code. So let's say we're going to go ahead and do West Palm Beach. All right? And I can select multiple areas here. I don't have to just do one area. I can do multiple areas. I can also put certain zip codes in West Palm Beach if I wanted that. I can also search for more than one property type. I can also search for more than one status. And you will always go back 3 days back. But you can go back up to 2 weeks if you wanted to go that far back. Just as you don't know what's been going on in West Palm Beach, so you want to know what's going, you want to do that. And what's going to be included in that information are new listings, price changes, and status changes. Those are the 3 things that we're looking for. And you can also limit your list by putting in a price range. Okay? Once you do that and you hit the search button, it's now going to come up and give you the same 2 tabs, the list results and the map results. So we have a grand total of 59. And then I can click on the map results to show me where all of those 59 are located right over here. And here, as you will see down below, are the colors. So like if you see this color here, it's sold. If you see this color, it's expired. And if you see the green, it's active. All right, so these color codes that you see in the legend correspond up here. And of course, I can click on any one of these Oh, maybe not. Not here you can't. Okay, I guess you can't do that here. Oh, that one worked. Why didn't this one work?
Probably internet.
I have to find out. Let's see. It works on Souls. It worked on this one. But why? Okay, that one worked. Okay, I guess I'm not clicking in the right spot. I think I'm used to clicking it dead center, and that may be why. Okay, no worries, but we got it up. And then, of course, I can also see it in the list results over here. Now, the nice thing about this is that you can also view each of these here as well. In MLS Advantage, you only get one previous price. I know in your MLSs you have at least up to 3 or 4 per listing. You only get one, and it's only going to show in the hot sheet feature. So here we see that the price dipped down about $100,000. This one went down, looks like $5. Okay. Here we see that. Here it expired, and so on and so forth. Now, I do want to point out, anytime a property sells, and you go to the listing details, and if it's sold, you'll see the sold date, sold price. This is the only place that you'll see the original price, if it's when it sells. Okay, so this is a sold price, so you can see it sold for $630. The original price was $600,000. So to me, the price was up. That's a good thing. And then you see the who the agent was, as well as the office. All right. So that's something that you can take a look at. Also, you can also see things like, I don't know if I can find anything here. This is a good one. The previous status was pending, and now it's active. So what does that tell you? The sale fell through, and now it's back with a new buyer. I mean, the buyer's looking for new buyers. All right, so that's something that is very helpful. And then this one here is a brand new listing that they're putting in. So you can see, you can kind of read into a lot of these things in here, but this is giving you an idea as to how you can view the activity in a certain area. Any questions on the hot sheet?
I had a question. How the MLS Advantage, how is the delay between when I put any listing on a video like that?
It will vary. There's an internal algorithm. The question here, in case anybody in the back didn't hear it, he said that how often does MLS Advantage get updated, I guess, is what the question is. And if you put in the listing now, how long will it take to show up in MLS Advantage? There's an internal algorithm that's in MLS Advantage that updates once an hour. I'm not a programmer, so I can't go into any further than that, but I know I was told that there's an internal algorithm in MLS Advantage that as people put listings in, it should be within the hour. So let's say that it is what? It's 1:35, right? And you just put the listing in. Well, you just missed that 1 hour. So then you have to wait a whole hour before that listing shows up. That's kind of how you want to take a look at that. Yeah. So it's pretty often. It's pretty often. So because you want to stay on top of the information, and we try to. I mean, we're talking about 54 MLSs. As you know, you have to have a powerful server to make sure a lot of that stuff gets updated too. So, but that's a good question, and it's all internal, and usually it gets updated as quickly as possible. Okay. Any questions? Other questions on the hot sheet? The next thing I want to talk about, I don't know if you noticed, but on my printouts, it had a picture of me. So you say, hey, I want the same thing. I want my picture in there, right? And you know, it's all about me. No, not about anybody else, but it's about me, right? So how do I get my picture over there? Well, the way to get your picture over there is to click on, right up here, Account. And when you click on Account, this is where you would upload your picture by clicking on Upload New Picture, so it kind of brands it with your picture. But then you want to say, hey, how do I get my company logo in here? That's where you have to ask the broker. The broker will, once the broker puts it in, it goes for everybody. So the broker has to put it in, because if you notice, and when I click on this, nothing happens. It's grayed out. So the broker would have to upload the company logo, so your partnership, Realty Inc. Once he puts that up there, then you will see that name appear there. And of course, it's got your brokerage information accordingly here. Just remember, hit the Save Changes once you fill all of this stuff out. I don't know if you noticed, and we only saw it briefly here, but in my email, the subject line had already been pre-filled, and so was the default message. That's because I set it up in the default message field. This way I know exactly what I want to say, but it can also be changed based on the customer that you're working with or the area that you're working with. Like what I always did, I kept it simple, and where it says add, attached are your requested listings, well, I may be working with a customer who I've included listings in Tampa, or maybe another one in another area. And then the same thing, as per our recent telephone conversation, I am attaching a list of properties from this area here. So you can always modify it, add on to it as you think you need to. But the important thing too is to include your email signature, because when you're sending emails out through MLS Advantage, you want to make sure you have your contact information there. It's only going to allow you to do plain text, all right, just like you see here. But that plain text is better than not being able to put it in there as well, because not everybody, not all customers can receive email signatures with your picture. It depends on how they're set up in their email server. Once you fill all of this stuff out, all you got to do is click on the Save Changes, and then you basically are done. Any questions on that? I recommend that you do that. That way you are able to brand your reports. Finally, do you all use RPR here? And you know RPR has great reports. In fact, I used to be an RPR trainer long ago before they started changing things around. So, but when I was an RPR trainer, I always try to show their CMA reports, and they have great reports. I call one of them the engineer report, because they have bars and graphs and things like that, right? But there were times where my clients said, Kaz, I don't care about these bars. I don't care about the pie charts. How much are you going to sell my property for? That's all they really cared about. So just to be very basic with them, I gave them a CMA report from MLS Advantage. It was very basic, and that's all they cared about. So all you have to do is click on CMA right here, and then click on New CMA here, and then you just fill in the information as you need to. So you would put in, now I'm going to open one up that I have here already. So let me do that one. That way you can kind of see it that way. Okay, I was working with Ken Tucky and Barbie Jones. They're known as Ken and Barbie, in case you were wondering. But here, this is what I would fill in. I would put in the name of the CMA. You have to create a new customer like you did with the auto email, same thing. And then just select your people. And then give it a cover page information when you prepared it. Don't put the suggested price yet, because you have to create a CMA first. So you're not going to know what that suggested price would be. Then you create the letter date. And what I had as my default is to whom it may concern. But I know Ken and Barbie very well, so I changed it because it's personal. I want to make it personal for them. And then I would create the message. All right? I would also select the fields that I wanted to compare properties with. And so therefore, all you do is click on the available field, hit the right arrow, and then the field names would show up over here. And then once you put them in here, you can also go ahead and sort them in any order that you want by clicking on these up and down arrows. Then when you click on the next button, now you go ahead and put in your subject property information. Now, if this listing was listed in MLS Advantage previously, you can always type in that MLS number in the MLS ID field and import that information from MLS Advantage, and then you can just modify the information based on what you've done through your walkthroughs. Once you've done all of this, then you're going to click on the next button, and now you're going to search for your comps, which automatically will be defaulted to the sold status search. And then once you do your search and you add those listings, those comps into the CMA, then you have your adjustments. I don't know if you all know how to do adjustments. That's probably something that you may want to check with your broker on. But you can actually do adjustments where you're comparing the comparable to the subject. And then you can just put the plus or minus based on what that is. And then once you set that up, you hit the Save button, and then you hit the Next, and then you can do your various reports. And then, of course, all of the available reports here, I brought them all over here because I wanted to have all of those reports. And then after you save it, you can always review it first before you send it out to your clients. Again, when you see this report, it's going to be a very basic report. But that might be sufficient for that one client who says, hey, all I care about is what you're going to sell it for. So it's going to take a couple of seconds longer. While we're waiting, and plus, when you see this and you're working with the seller, this is a good hypnotizing thing if you needed to. Just say, look at the gear. I'm going to sell you a house. I'm going to sell you a house. All right, here we go. So here we get the cover letter that you put together, and then we have the subject property with the picture. And then we have the subject property along with the comparables that you pulled up here. And then you have the subject property and the first two comparables. So if you happen to say, let's say you pulled up 6 comps. So you're going to have the subject, 2 comps. Next page, subject, 2 comps. Next page, subject, and 2 comps. So it's going to be 2 comps per page. And then you'll get the final stacked report, which includes the comps that you pulled up, but then it gives you the averages, the high, median, and low of your price, of your adjusted price, and your square footage. And then it also gives you the average of the adjusted price per square foot and the average days on the market. And you can do this anywhere in the state of Florida. Okay, so if you were working with somebody in Orlando, then you can do a CMA over there too. Now, so I don't forget, if you wanted, let's say you got a listing from a client, but they're in Orlando. Can you put a listing in Orlando? The answer to that would be yes, under certain circumstances. One, your broker has to be a member of the Orlando Association and MLS. Then you can go ahead and do it, but then you'll also have to be a member as well. Or you can always go ahead and put it as an MLS entry only, and that way just leave it there and let it ride. Or thirdly, you can go ahead and put it into your own MLS as an out-of-area listing, which nobody in Orlando is going to see. I mean, hopefully they're using MLS Advantage, but if they're not, they won't see your listings. So the last option, I think, would be I wouldn't do. I would be a member of that. And I did that one time when I was a member of...
It's inexpensive. It's
It
like
does.
a membership.
Yeah.
Very inexpensive.
Yeah. In fact, what I did when I was a realtor for Broward, I had 8 listings, and I wanted to market in Orlando. And my broker was a member of that MLS, and so was I. I joined 1 year. And I sold 3 of my 8 listings from an Orlando member, so that was worth my money that I paid. So, but that's something that you can go ahead and do. But keep in mind, though, is if you put it into multiple MLSs, what should be only 8 listings that you have, it's going to show 16 in MLS Advantage because you're putting it into 2 areas. That's the thing that you have to remember. But that's kind of how that would work. Well, that is all I've got to say. Does anyone here have any questions?
Yeah, I want to go back to when you were doing the CMA, please.
Sure.
Just want to clear something.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it was perfect, the CMA, when you're representing a buyer.
Right.
But if you're getting a listing, and you previously pulled this property that at one time was in the MLS, okay, and now you're using someone else's MLS. MLS report, photos, and so forth.
Right.
Because you mentioned about if it was in
Correct, correct.
You mentioned if it was in there that you could use it only if it was your listing, or at least your office listing. But if it was a listing from another office, I don't think you could do that.
You won't be, the only thing that you can't do is, because I know certain things are copyrighted,
Right.
like photos,
Right.
narrative,
Yep.
and a couple of other things. I would not
No.
load in the picture.
Yeah.
But everything else, like the number of bedrooms and number of baths, I think that should be accepted.
All right. Yeah. Not the photos or the listing.
In fact, if you want, let me go back here for a second. See, when I go ahead and do the subject, I'm not putting any narrative in here. It's just the number of bedrooms, the number of baths, square footage, list price. I can change that right here, year
Yeah.
built, furnished, but that's it.
The picture's the big thing.
Yeah,
It's the
and
big thing.
and therefore I would upload my own.
Yeah, exactly.
And if the MLS has played their cards right, they should also have a copyright. Like here, there's a copyright down here in the bottom right-hand
Yeah,
corner.
Just upload your own.
Just upload.
Exactly.
But besides that, you're okay to use the rest of the information.
I agree.
Thank you for clarifying that. All right. Are there any other questions before we conclude? I think we finished a little bit earlier, but that's okay. If there are no other questions, all I've got to say then is thank you for attending. I hope you learned a lot. I hope this was very beneficial. And if there's any other questions, I'll be here to answer questions locally here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.